Want to know the biggest mistakes you're making as a beginner at Illustrator? In this video, we're going to discuss 5 of those mistakes so you can stop doing them and so you can be the best at Illustrator. So let's get right into it. Mistake number 1, not scaling strokes and effects properly. Beginner designers don't always know the right way to scale a fashion sketch, and they wind up with something that looks like this. Wow, this is not the proper way to scale your sketches. The thickness of the outlines and detail lines on a fashion sketch are super important. They can completely change the look of your sketch. Illustrator calls these lines strokes. So to scale flat sketches properly, make sure to check Scales, Strokes, and Effects on the Transform menu before scaling your work so that all your lines and outlines stay the right thickness no matter how big or how small you make your sketch. Mistake number 2, not using the select same functions, or recoloring one sketch at a time. Beginner designers will sometimes recolor garments or objects individually instead of taking advantage of the awesome capabilities that Illustrator has in the Select menu. Garments with the same fill color can be changed all at once using Select, Same, Fill to change everything with that fill color into the new color all in one shot. But there are even more options here. The same can be done with selecting objects that have the same stroke to change the stroke colors all at once. And there's all these other options here too, like selecting objects with the same appearance, blending mode, fill and stroke, opacity, and same stroke weight to change them all at once. Make sure you take advantage of all of these options. They can really come in handy, especially when working on presentation boards. Mistake number 3, not grouping objects. Beginner designers will often make the terrible mistake of not grouping their sketches together. This is problematic because we need to be able to move sketches around on our page whenever necessary, or transform them in different ways, such as making them bigger or smaller. If the garments are not each grouped, we'll get a major mess on our hands every time we try to make these changes. And since we often overlap sketches on top of one another for presentation purposes, not having a sketch grouped can also mess up whatever's behind or in front of that ungrouped sketch too. So make sure that each individual sketch is grouped. And if you're working on a print or pattern, make sure that any objects that are supposed to be one are grouped together, and that the parts are not just floating around individually. And now on to mistake number 4. But real quick, if you're finding this video useful, please hit the like button and please subscribe. It'll help me to keep bringing you more videos like this. Mistake number 4, not zooming in to check for accidental mistakes and stray lines. Beginner designers often don't zoom in to double check on their work. This is problematic because with all the work that goes into making fashion sketches and prints, it's not uncommon for something to have gone by the wayside at some point. It could be that you forgot to recolor one part of the garment, or you left out a detail from a garment, or you made some changes but forgot to do it on all the colorways, or you might have some stray lines and points lying around on your page. It's important that all designers get used to checking and double checking your work, and it's much more thorough if you do it by zooming in instead of only glancing over your page at a distance. Zooming in and scanning over your entire page once or twice will definitely help you to catch those mistakes and fix them before your boss sees them. Mistake number 5, not using the keyboard shortcuts. Beginner designers are often not aware of the keyboard shortcuts, or they think it's too hard to remember them, or that it won't really make a difference, and they wind up doing things the long way. But they're called shortcuts for a reason. They're a shorter way of doing things, and they'll cut down the time that you have to spend on any given action. Illustrator has tons of shortcuts that are guaranteed to speed up your work, and they're not as hard to remember as you might think. If you haven't seen my previous video on the 10 most useful shortcuts that you need to be using, make sure to check it out. I even have a downloadable link with a free cheat sheet to help you to remember them. And we're not done yet with our Illustrator mistakes either. Mistakes 6 to 10 are in the part 2 video coming up next. See you there!